put a disclaimer, if we're talking about stuff for the coronavirus, we're not experts. Don't go out there and overdose.
We're telling you to listen to the motherfucking experts.
Yeah, exactly. Don't say that you heard it from Black Power Magic Hour and you OD'd on it. So please don't do that. So we just listen to the experts, and we're going to tell you what's going on, latest updates. So one thing that's happening pretty much is vitamin
this I can
D.
actually talk to you about, though. I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes to vitamin D. But carry on.
So vitamin D, if Phil could drop this first video real quick.
Vitamin D might mean a little bit something different to the ladies than,
Drop this real quick, Phil. So
he's like, drop the video.
He's taking this. Yeah, so pretty much, I can share the article.
Researchers at the University of Chicago shows the impact vitamin D.
Wow, they are socially distant.
Joining us now to talk about the findings of the study is Dr. David Meltzer. Thank you so much for joining us. So it appears that a deficiency in vitamin D, there's a connection with COVID. Can you explain?
Sure. What our study did is examine patients tested for COVID at the University of Chicago and try to figure out whether patients who were vitamin D deficient were at increased risk of catching COVID, that someone takes and then imagines that. And the way we approached that was by looking to see whether they were more likely to test positive for COVID when we tested them. And what we discovered was that patients who were vitamin D deficient were about 77% more likely to test positive for COVID than patients who were not vitamin D deficient.
Well, doctor, first of all, how do we find out if we're deficient in vitamin D, and how do we get it? I know supplements and sun and fish and things like that, but people probably at home are saying, oh my goodness, let me get some right away. Let me get my hands on it. What's the best way to do it?
Okay, so first of all, you can be tested. You can go to your doctor and get tested. It's also possible to get home tests. However, for many of us, simply taking a supplement is a reasonable thing to do. There's a recommended daily allowance, which depending on your age is typically from about 400 to about 1,000 international units per day. The National Academy of Medicine has said that for most people, it's safe to go as high as 4,000 units per day. And so for most of us, we can take a supplement or expose ourselves on a daily basis to some sun as long as the weather permits, and that will help raise our levels even without being tested.
Well, I want to backtrack just a little bit. Now, this is the initial findings. There is more testing to be done. Tell us a little bit about what's the next step. What are clinical trials entailing?
Yeah, so what we found was an association. People with higher levels of vitamin D deficient being more likely to test positive for COVID. But that doesn't prove that taking more vitamin D will decrease the rates of COVID. And the only way to test that for sure is clinical trials. So we're in the process now of beginning some studies where people will have the opportunity to take different doses of vitamin D and see whether their risk of contracting COVID is affected.
Well, a lot of folks may be running out right now to go get some. Is there such thing as too much vitamin D?
Absolutely.
So before he gets in, when he goes into that,
no, he didn't get. Phil didn't understand.
No, he didn't understand. But I'm glad he did.
Before you get into it, I just want to pull up the paper that this man wrote up. So just so we can just have the science in front of it. So
no, but actually, I'm going to talk about the science.
No. You can talk about the science, but I want to pull up this guy's report. So, because you're not a scientist, I understand the vitamin D, but we need to pull up the report so you understand what's happening here when it comes to the background of why he's saying how he got this result, pretty much. So pretty much what's going on here, what's pretty funny about this is that, while Trump is pushing hydrochloroquine,
hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah. So vitamin D is almost like the same name. It's hydrochloroquine grow. So it's almost like identical names in some ways. So you have Trump pushing the wrong thing in some ways. But I just want to say, so like he said, it was out of 48 people, pretty much out of 48 patients whose vitamin D levels were measured before COVID-19. And then they pretty much found out who got tested afterwards with COVID-19. So I just want to break that down. And also, half Americans are deficient in vitamin D. And then high rates.
Talk about this.
This is high rates within African Americans and Hispanics.
Yeah. So before you go, because this is Axel is going to talk about all of this stuff, right? So the issues where Americans tend to have a lot of problems with the levels of vitamin D. The white people that have the problems are the people who tend to live furthest away from the equator, because those people get less sun in the sky most times of the year, and B, they tend to spend most of their time indoors. For black people, even the ones that live closer to the equator, it's difficult for the body to make vitamin D's out of the UV rays because the pigmentation in our skin, the melanin in our skin, blocks a lot of the UV rays to protect us from the damaging rays of the sun. Since you get more sun, you get more direct rays at the equator. So another reason why white supremacy makes no sense is because the melanin is just a protective measure from the rays of the sun, depending on where you live longitudinally.
Yeah, because
latitude. Excuse me, not longitude, but latitude. Right. So black people
too much
have
of it can be poisonous.
Right. It can be, but the thing is, those people develop melanoma because they've gotten too much, and then it fucks with the way that your cells reproduce. So some of the researchers believe that it's possible that vitamin D plays a role in some of the processes that go on in the lungs that have to do with the ACE2 receptor that the novel coronavirus, or SARS-CoV-2, likes to latch onto in order to infect the host, which is why so many people are having problems with breathing, all the respiratory issues that people are having. But it is kind of they believe it's possible that ACE2 receptor is being put into use somewhere else, something having to do with the vitamin D, which is how people are being kept from being infected. Yeah. So in the lockdown, in some ways you can make the case that everybody being at home all the time is making them more susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 because they're not getting the natural vitamin D that they normally would get from the sun. So when they were talking about the healthy doses, a lot of them believe that if you take 400 IUs that you'll be okay. Yeah. But because people are spending so much time indoors and people are not having a varied diet because people are kind of locked down, they can't do the full grocery shopping and go to the restaurants and do all the things they did before. I've been taking 4,000 IUs of vitamin D, but I've also been taking zinc. I've been taking 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and let me tell you, it has made a huge difference in my ability to stave off all kinds of infections. I haven't actually had even a cold since before the pandemic started.
But so this goes back to what we were saying about why we're into disaster right now, where we could have more than 250,000 people dead within a couple of months. I don't know. And it's like, I don't know if you saw this story, Dr. Virginius, about the post office. They pretty much had a release ready saying that they're going to send masks to people, every household.
Oh, and they nixed it. The Trump administration said nope. So I think they had like 600 million masks or something like that.
So I'm going to tell you this study right here that we're talking about now that you broke down pretty good. This happened between March and April 10th. March 3rd and April 10th. So
yeah, I was actually paying attention to all of this medical shit. Yeah. I've been paying attention to this shit since January.
So they could have been like, we can send like a bag of pills to every household, and until we figure this shit out. It could have been better than nothing. It could have been better than nothing. That's what I'm saying.
But as Americans, we are reactive. We are not proactive.
Yeah. It could have been better than nothing, where we have right now. We could have got a bag of masks, a box of masks, and a box of vitamin supplements, and be like, we're gonna be
take these every day. Go out in the sun. Get out of your fucking office.
Yeah, here's some money. You don't have to worry about work. You can go out.
Eat some spinach like Popeye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Take care of each other. We could have been but that's why we hear a Black Power Magic Hour. We wish we can send you some zinc and vitamin D right now, but we can't. So this is
I'm just going to tell you that 50 milligrams of zinc, 3 grams of vitamin C, and 4,000 IUs of vitamin D, if nothing else. Also, fish oil assists your immune system as well. You know, your innate immune system is going to do most of the fighting against really all the viruses.
Yeah.
Because you can't really kill a virus. So your immune system's job is to latch onto the virus or cover any kind of receptor area that would allow a virus to get in and infect you. So if you're doing everything that you can to support your innate immune system, you're going to have a slightly easier time. And like I said, we're doing this for COVID, but we're also kind of guarding against the common cold and the seasonal flu and all these other things. So, you know, it's one thing to just say, hey, this is about COVID-19, but you know, I hope that people are taking their vitamin D and washing their hands for 30 seconds and not giving bad breath to people out in public. You know, not just because of the Rona, but just because it's like the sanitary thing to do to keep people from getting sick, you know, for whatever virus or bacteria.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic and this like the sanitary conditions, like it's forcing us to actually care about each other and think about each other. Like I'm not just washing my hands so my hands can be clean for me and washing my hands to be clean for other people as well. You know, it's not this, you know, I'm not just looking good for me. I'm looking good for everyone else. That's the kind of
that was
process.
Smooth.
You know,
that was
like
smooth. That was
yeah.
smooth.
but that's I mean that's the idea that we should have for COVID-19, but we don't.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Messiah Rhodes is around. He's smooth as fuck.
So this is the breakdown of vitamin D. Hopefully you guys go out there and get it because it's about to be fall and winter. The temperature.
Do your research too, because remember, I'm taking 4,000 IUs. My skin is, you know, fairly dark, and I never go outside. I need all 4,000 IUs, right? But for you, if you're going outside, you're going on runs, you're walking your dog, you know, you're trying to have the most, you know, varied diet. You know, maybe you take 1,000 IUs, maybe you only take 2,000 IUs. But one of the things that researchers have found about vitamin D is that you probably have to swallow like 50 bottles in order to have some kind of poisoning of some kind of vitamin D poisoning.
Oh yeah, or evolved from your ancestors after like thousands of years. You might get poisoned that way too. You know?
Yeah, but like you know, if you're taking 4,000, it's not going to hurt you. But if you're getting your vitamin D from the sun and from food sources, your body is probably not going to use all of it. So even if you do choose to use 4,000 IUs, it's not going to like poison you or anything like that. So for me, it was better safe than sorry. I've been doing pretty well taking these vitamins.
Yeah, and I usually take like a Vega powder with my smoothie. My smoothie usually is carrots, spinach, bananas, berries, peanut butter, and then it also is a protein vitamin powder. I'm not recommending that. He's recommending that. I don't recommend people drink nasty tasting shit. No, this is delicious. You know, you're
putting fruits in with spinach. You lost me.
The berries and the peanut butter is like in the bananas. You don't taste any spinach, yo. You don't know what he's saying though. This is the most. Is no vegetables.
All right. So when we tell you don't try this at home, Messiah is telling you, well, I'm telling you, try it at your own risk.
Yeah.
I put fruits with my fruits, and I put my vegetables with my vegetables.
No, that's the secret. That's the secret deliciousness, Dr. Virginius.
Yeah, that's why he's so smooth. You see how fucking healthy his skin is? I look like that pasty bastard that woke up from ground zero.